I need to work slower and look busy for the boss? You got it. For background, I have always been an incredibly hard and efficient worker. Always getting things done faster than expected and going above and beyond. My program for college required us to go to class for 6 months of the year and work full-time in our field for the remaining 6 months. As a freshman in college, I got my first job at an automotive supplier. My first semester was fairly slow, mainly due to the fact that the person who was supposed to train me went on medical leave my first week there and didn't come back for almost a year, and wasn't replaced. However, in my second semester things really took a turn for the worse. 2 key things happened at the start of my next semester. 1. I was moved to a new department. 2. The company began merging with one of their competitors. Now when the company began the merger, they decided they were going to move everything at my site to the other company's HQ in another nearby city. The first thing that moved was vast majority of the equipment my new department used. The upper management made the brilliant decision to leave the 4 members of my department, 1 supervisor, 1 tech, and 2 students, at the old site until the move was complete. This meant we had essentially nothing we could work on. Here's where we get into the MC. After about 2 weeks of sitting around, my supervisor, 60F, finally came up with a small task for me. I completed this in about 4 hours, which I thought was pretty good for something I had never done and had little training on. So I went to let her know. Me. Hey super, I'm done. Super. Angry and in a panic. Done? This was supposed to take you all week. I don't have anything else for you to do now. I need you to look busy in case boss walks by. Next time I give you something to do, you need to drag it out longer so that you look busy. Quote. Now young naive me was initially confused by getting reprimanded for working too fast, but what the boss says goes. A week or so later I was given another task. I was to take thousands of these tiny explosive devices we use and dispose of them by detonating them in a concrete box. They were too volatile to just throw out, so they had to be discharged first. Super. And remember, take your time and don't go through them too fast. Quote. Now this was obviously just busy work to get me out of the way, but the great thing with this task was that it had to take place in a back garage that nobody ever went in, to avoid the obvious danger of people walking in while I was setting off controlled explosives. I could have easily hooked up 20 of these bad boys at a time and set them off every 510 minutes, finishing the whole batch in about a week, but I had to look busy. So instead I set off about 510 of these once an hour and spent the rest of the time on my phone, playing games, watching Netflix, listening to music, etc., while getting paid over double minimum wage at the time. I managed to stretch that project for the remaining 2.5 months I was there, finishing just in time for the end of the semester. Anytime someone asked me for help on something else, I politely told them I would when I was done. But it might be a while because Super told me not to go through these too fast. They usually ended up finding some other bored student to help them. I think Super genuinely forgot I worked there by the end, because when I stopped into her office in my last week to let her know I had finished the task, she seemed very surprised, confused to see me. The company ended up paying me over $10,000. A lot of money for a student at the time. Just to sit on my phone all day for 3 months. I sent an email to supervisor, boss, and HR at the end of the semester, letting them know that I would not be returning the next semester. In my best corporate language, I let them know I was leaving to pursue opportunities that would better utilize my time and skills. I found out later, when several of us ran into each other at a job fair, that all but 2 of the other students had also quit at the end of the semester out of boredom and or uncertainty that we would even have jobs to come back to. The company did not handle the transition well and could never give us straight answers about where, when, if we would be brought back. TL. Doctor. Supervisor tells me to stretch out a small task so that I look busy for the boss and they don't have to find stuff for me to do. Company ends up paying me to sit on my phone for 3 months. Me and most of the other interns end up quitting due to a mismanaged merger. Unfortunately, this whole situation basically ruined my work ethic and I stopped going above and beyond in most situations at work. I decided it just wasn't worth it. I also got really good at looking busy without actually doing any work. Working efficiently is rewarded with getting to do everybody else's work as well. At the time 19F and a geology student, once did work experience in a mining organization for a week. On day 2 they gave me a mapping exercise to get on with. Basically, I had to look up the borehole data of the coal seams and plot each seam on a map. You can see thickness trends over an area by plotting the top and bottom of the seam, giving you an idea of where to develop your tunnels. I finished after a few hours. They were very surprised, as the previous students had taken all week for 2 of them to do the same task. I guess they worked as slowly as they could from pure laziness. So I got to go out and about with the guys looking at all sorts of interesting stuff like coke, plants and laboratories. I made some good contacts, networking. There was a great chance of a job when I qualified. Sadly, in the aftermath of the miners' strike, all of the coal industry support staff were made redundant and the chance of a job was gone. So I ended up teaching. I could understand dragging out a task that can take 4 hours into 1, maybe 1.5 days. But a whole week seems like a stretch. Lol. If anything, that would make it look worse than just nothing to do, since it looks more like task are being ignored. Though from the sound of it they didn't seem to keep good track of people, since you got 10K for just phone, Netflix. They didn't get much bang for their buck, did they? If your manager knows you are exceptional, you have the ability to actually hurt his department. If you left, then they'd only let him hire 1 person and expect the same amount of productivity out of his department. He knows the average person won't get half of what you got done. And so those expectations would make his life hard. The candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. Nice one. I hope you looked super busy all the time you were busy doing nothing. Exclamation mark. Talk about a blast of a job. Efficiency is usually appreciated, so it's disheartening you had to dial it down and risk safety. Good on you for standing up for your worth. There's nothing malicious about this. It's just compliance. That was just compliance. No maliciousness at all. I did temp work for nearly 2 years when I was younger. Usually paid well. I rarely had days without work, and did a bunch of different things. I'd often be told to slow down. Take it easy. You're making everyone else look bad. When I was in warehouses, I'd make processes to make the work easier and/or faster. I'd taken typing and business classes in high school, so when I convinced the agency I could do office work, I would fly through typing up documents, filing pre-sort, then fly through putting them their folders, etc. One place I was assigned to, I working only MW and every other F. The workload was not that big, so I'd clear the inbox every day if I was confused by a document or couldn't read the handwriting. Yes, that long ago, I'd return a draft and ask for markups and corrections. Turned out that was all wrong. I was making the permanent employee working TTH and the other Fs look bad. She'd come in and have nothing to do. Also, by sending out drafts and asking for review, corrections, I was setting unattainable expectations. So I stopped sending out docs for review. Left 24 items in the inbox. Even if I spent the afternoon doing nothing. Actually had the big boss ask me what I doing. Working on my resume. There's work in the inbox. Mary, my supervisor, said I was to leave work for Nancy, the other word processor, so she has something to do in the morning when she arrives. He goes, and wanders off.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.